You can be, on the outside looking great, but on the inside feeling terrible, miserable, and you're just not aligned with what you feel you're truly supposed to do, no matter how much you're earning or what you live in or what you drive or your relationships or whatever it is.
Hello and welcome back to the Master Your Business podcast. This is Deirdre Martin, your host, and I'm here to help you, my fellow entrepreneurs, crack the code to those juicy 6-figure and even 7-figure milestones in your business. Because let's be honest, who doesn't love the sound of a cha-ching hitting their bank account, or more of a ding if it's a Stripe notification coming through? Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes the word success, it feels like something, I don't know, like some sort of an elusive butterfly, just something that's always that little bit out of reach. We chase it, we grasp for it, but it seems to have a mind of its own. Well, today we're going to pin down that butterfly, figuratively speaking, and give it a good look over with our incredible guest, Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino. Elizabeth is a best-selling author, a master coach, and the powerhouse behind the Best Ever You network. She's helped millions of people around the world redefine success and find their own unique path to fulfillment. And trust me, she's got some seriously inspiring stories to share. In this episode, you'll discover how to forget those outdated definitions of success and create your own version that truly lights you up. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. It has to be aligned with you. We're going to talk about the power of internal validation. We're going to talk a little bit about change, and you're going to uncover maybe some secrets to building a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. So get your cup of something hot and tasty ready and stay tuned. It's a lovely chat. Enjoy. Elizabeth, it's so fantastic to have you on the Master Your Business podcast. You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Deirdre.
Oh, I'm so excited because today's topic is one that's like a bit of a horizon. It's something that can move all of the time, right? No matter how close you get to it, it's something that just seems to slip away. And today we're talking about success and change. So, Elizabeth, you are a guru. You've written 2 books. You want to share them? You might as well show them.
Might as well hold them up right here.
Yeah, hold them up. Yeah.
So the first one is the Change Guidebook, and the new one is the Success Guidebook.
Fantastic,
Change and
folks.
Success.
You're going to have to go and check them out, folks. And Elizabeth today is going to give us a little bit of insight into what's included in those books and how they came about and all of the things. So, firstly, success. What success means to me and what success means to you, Elizabeth, could be 2 totally different things. So how do you define it?
Yeah, that's up to you guys to define it. I define it in terms of heart, truths, energy, the smile on your face, the smile you help put on other people's faces with some of the things that you do and so forth. But that's the whole point of these books, is to help us redefine success for ourselves personally and professionally, so that we aren't all caught up in analytics, numbers, what somebody else is doing, comparing ourselves to somebody else, and so forth. My books are intended to meet people in those moments of unsurety, insecurity, lack of clear picture of your future or whatever it is, and come on in there and give you a giant hug and help you move forward. So I always say that about my books. Like, I'm here to hand out hugs, and the books certainly are too, so that we remember our value, our worth, and so forth, and align with things that we really truly want for ourselves.
I love that, because I know, like, I've had roles in the past where it's been very much micromanaged, and success was if you achieved all of those number things that they set out. But actually, I was miserable in my job. I hated it. So I didn't feel successful, but externally, people might have looked at me and thought, oh, she's got it nailed, because I was hitting those targets, but I didn't feel successful because I probably wasn't aligned. It's that alignment piece you talked about. So, in terms of creating a plan for success and how to figure out what that is and getting clear on it, it's that lack of a clear picture, like you said. What are some of the steps that people could take to help figure out what that vision of success looks like for them?
Yeah. So first of all, I completely agree with you there. You can be, on the outside looking great, but on the inside feeling terrible, miserable, and you're just not aligned with what you feel you're truly supposed to do, no matter how much you're earning or what you live in or what you drive or your relationships or whatever it is. So one of the things that I strive for is helping people find comprehensive success. So it's taking a look comprehensively at yourself in terms of relationships, career, your spirituality, even your wellness, your home, your garden, whatever it is that is involved in your life, and taking a look at it and evaluating it as a whole, so that you aren't aggressively pursuing money, fame, fortune, or whatever it is, and forgetting everything else. Sometimes we get to those points where we get wake-up calls and stuff like that. So I think that's one of the most important things to think of in terms of success. And that's why I wrote the book, is to guide people on a path toward that, toward comprehensive success. So it starts with imagination, imagining what you want to do, visualization, and it moves. There's three big sections of the book. With my dog is in the background. Sorry, there's three big sections in the book. Yeah, he's really cute. And there's 10 chapters, and the 10 chapters in the book are each a factor of success, going all the way from impact to celebration, and celebration meaning success stacking. So there's all sorts of things that we can talk about in terms of the process that's there to meet you in that moment of uncertainty or needing to change. You know it when you need to do something like that. It's when we don't act upon that we get in trouble. Like when we ignore the signs that are all pointing in our direction of needing to change something. That's when we invite in, the unrest and the unhealthy behaviors and feelings and so forth. Hopefully that makes sense. Sorry, I got distracted by cats, and I have cats, and I have a cat and a dog in here with us today. I love animals, so they're in here with me.
Well, that makes two of us. Usually I'm at home in my own office, but today I happen to be in a podcast studio and recording our episode today. But otherwise I would have my Bernese Mountain Dogs probably snoring or making other sounds in the background.
It's so fun.
Well, yeah, they're great. They're my work colleagues, and they're fabulous. And just
Same.
coming back to the success piece, I love what you said there a few minutes ago about comprehensive success, and that it can be relationships, career, wellness, and all of that sort of stuff. But I think, like, what I heard in between the lines, Elizabeth, is nearly like it's determining what that success is internally, as opposed to looking for external validation for it. Have I picked that up right?
Yeah, 1000%. It's about what resonates right here for you. I always bring people right here instead of here all day long, so that you're doing what makes you thrive and what helps you reach your potential. And sometimes we're afraid to do that. We've got this idea hidden here. We're out being whatever we are, making money, doing things. And in the background, we're going, but what I really want to be is a cookie baker or a painter or an artist or write books, or I want to stay home with my kids. And every time I try and do that, I'm getting flack for that. There's a number of things that are right here that we're afraid to pursue because of all the noise out here. And we go back and forth. I'll say we vacillate a little bit between the known and the unknown. And that's, what's known, you're right here. You can be right here and you're like, okay, I know that. But as I start to go this way toward things I might need to change, or what's really going to make me feel successful, I tend to kind of go back here because I'm afraid. I know this, I don't know this. So we go back and forth. And that's what I mean. My books are here to meet you right in that moment and help you go this way, as opposed to staying stuck over here, wondering your whole life or whatever it is. You get to a point where you get regrets and things like that creep in. But, people tend to stay stuck here, maybe dreaming, maybe thinking about what they want to do, but they don't do it. And so I love to help people do things
with the action.
Action.
And
Action. Yeah.
And something I heard there as well was you said that it's like when they feel successful. So successful doesn't have to be a tangible thing, right? It can be totally emotional. It can be like an emotional achievement or just feeling happy in the moment. It doesn't have to be like, let's set a goal and make sure that we take all of these action steps to achieve the goal, right?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. I
Ooh.
think I think it's how people operate. You've got to figure out how you operate. And people will tell you what to do all day long. We must set SMART goals. We must do this. We must do that in order to achieve this, that, or another thing. You must run this fast. You must walk this fast. You must check people out this fast at the grocery store. There's all these measurements in place, and you can feel it piling on more and more and more. And sometimes we don't meet those measurements. Sometimes people don't even know. I say this a lot. Sometimes people don't even know what's going on with us for real. Most of us are heading to work or working in some form at home or whatever. And just because you're at work doesn't mean your personal life has just stopped and, halted. We have so much stuff playing in the background. It's like a tape of everything. And that's if we're healthy. You might be battling with something, struggling with something. Somebody in your family might not feel good. You might be taking care of an ill parent, as we all did in our family from 2004 to 2018. My dad was a stroke survivor. I myself, every day, I deal with life-threatening food allergies. So there's so much that goes on with us. And what we do, I think it becomes very emotional for us because we sit and go, oh, I'm not as good as they are. I'm not doing what they're doing. Instead of pulling it back and going, okay, let me get my gratitude journal out. Let me get the success guidebook or the change guidebook out, which has so much writing in it. It's scary. You can write in that thing all day long. Let me get these tools out that help me root in gratitude and help me root in my own heart, truths, and energy so that I can walk around, operate, and so forth, feeling whole instead of less than, and feel worthy instead of not, have remembering my value in each and every moment. Because I think what people do is we seriously forget the fact that we're not entitled to time. You're not entitled to time. And once we figure out that we're not entitled to time, that backs you way up and goes, okay, and you go, well, wait a minute. If I'm not entitled to time, that means every single nanosecond matters. Every single moment of your life matters. So it's really important to recognize you're not entitled to time. Every single nanosecond of your life matters. So what are you going to do exactly? And if you don't have that figured out, which most of us don't, even, you can write books on it and not have it figured out in every minute of the day. Things change. So that's why it's important to learn to navigate change as well, because if you had asked me what I think success, so I'm 55. If you had asked me what I think
You look
success
amazing,
is,
by the way. And let me just come in there. Yes, she looks amazing, folks.
not 55. I just turned 55. But if you had me on your show and I was 20, I might say, let me think about what success is. I'm going to kill everything in my path to get there. I need a car, house, kid, and I'm, fully charged ahead. Now at 55, I can look back and go, wait a minute. Okay, some of the, I'm sorry for some of you I've trampled over or whatever I've done to think that I need to be successful in this way or another, but it's just different. It's really, really important to recognize, hopefully at a very young age, that we're not entitled to time. Your moments mattered. So align yourself to what it is you truly believe and allow for that to change. It'll morph over the years. What's important to me at 55 is not what was important to me at age 18 at all. Some things, but in general, different.
That's
Does that make
powerful.
sense?
You're so right. And I mean, I see that as well. I have a brother who suffered a stroke 28 years ago now. And when he was 29, so this year he's going to be 57. Or maybe I have my maths wrong. I think he's
Good.
56. He'll give
That's
out
a
to me
survivor.
than he was, right? But he's
Yeah.
still alive and he's still doing well. And for success for him, he's amazing. And he's somebody I admire. I don't talk about him very much. He doesn't live in Ireland. He lives in the UK. But when, like, every day he gets up and when I speak with him, he's like, I'm just so grateful to be alive. And, he counts the years and how many years have gone by. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's just so grateful to be alive. And sometimes I'm giving out because my tech
Right.
isn't
Yeah.
working or my LinkedIn post tanks. And I'm like, oh, really? Get a
Yeah.
grip, Deirdre.
It,
Those things don't matter. What really matters, and then just it really centers you and grounds you and brings you back to what's important.
yeah, I think it's really important that you just shared that. You'll like my very first book. I still don't know if I have a copy of it with me right here. I might. Yeah, I do, actually. No, I don't. Sorry. It's called Percolate. Let Your Best Self Filter Through. So
Mm,
my very first book is a Hay House book. It's published by Hay House. It's called Percolate, Let Your Best Self Filter Through. And in that, for all of you families, friends, coworkers, and so forth affected by strokes and stroke survivors and caregiving, that book is for you.
mm,
It details my father's stroke in a non-bogged down way.
mhm.
So you're not bogged down with all the details of everything that happened to him and so forth. Instead, I kind of meet the reader at the point where he decides, I'm going to live through this thing. So it might be really inspirational for your brother because my dad had a series of strokes and pretty much deemed unsurvivable, like, wow. So there were some miracle moments and he rang the ICU bell and all that stuff, but he spent a very long time in rehab.
Mm,
And which, as anybody knows, that is really hard place to also, go home from. Most of
mhm,
the time you go back and forth between rehab and the hospital, and sometimes you don't come home. He got
mhm,
to come home, but let me back up. There was a moment in the rehab facility where they were assessing his speech and how it had been impacted in his brain and so forth. And they got him, it took probably about an hour to get my dad, who was 6'5" and, very large human being, down to the nurses area. My mom and I came with, and she said, okay, Jim, we're going to do the alphabet game with you. My dad is kind of like, he's awake, but you looked really tired after being jostled about and stuff. And she said, so when I say A and the other letters, I want you to tell me the word that first comes to mind. My mom and I are like, oh, goodness. And the nurse warned us. She's like, this doesn't usually go so well. So just heads up, this can be a really depressing moment. Well, so she said A, and my dad said aardvark. And I'm like, my mom and I looked at each other and we're like, oh my God, dude, serious drugs on board, something, aardvark. Okay, that's random. But then he went benevolence, determination, courage. I'm sorry, benevolence, courage, determination, excellence. F was a serious swear word that I've changed to faith, and he kind of did along the way too. But gratitude, happiness, integrity, joy, love, kindness, on and on and on and on and on.
amazing.
And just went through, M was movies because he loves movies, and P was platypus. So in my book, I'm like, find her in her aardvark and platypus, of course. And here's that moment where you put your foot down and decide you're going to survive and thrive. And it was really powerful because it was like, I'm right here. Don't treat me this way.
Mhm,
In a way, it's like, I'm right here. Let's heal, thrive, and do our best here. Don't treat me like I'm less than, and
mhm,
then I'm not going to survive this and thrive and stuff. And he put his foot down kind of in that moment. And my books are all about that. From that moment on, I decided to become an author and write about gratitude, resilience, grief, loss, change, and success. So my book isn't how to flip houses and make money. My book is, how do you feel successful when everything is down upon you and you don't feel good? How do you redefine success for yourself? Is it getting out of bed and breathing? Is
mm.
it, you bought a used car and you're so happy about it as you're driving up next to somebody's $100,000 Tesla? Are you happy in that moment, or are you jealous you don't have the Tesla?
Mm.
Be happy for yourself.
Oh, that's so
So
powerful. And what an incredible story. And I know I see that all of the time. And like I get a lot of clients and they struggle with comparisonitis and they're looking at other people and feeling less than. And I actually read a book recently, which is 10x is easier than 2x. I don't know if you've ever read
I
that
haven't
by
read that
Dan
one yet.
Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
really inspired me because it talks about the gap and the gain. And this is a principle that they came up with, and Benjamin Hardy is an organizational psychologist, but what he talks about, and I've shared this with colleagues and peers and clients, is that a lot of people look at, they set this goal, this huge big tangible goal, and they aim to achieve it, but they don't get all of the way there, and then they're looking at this gap the gap that they haven't achieved, and they're like all of those horrible negative thoughts, their self-worth is on the floor, they're unaligned, their values are all over the place, and they just
Yeah.
think I'm not good enough, and they're unsuccessful, or they deem themselves to be unworthy, what have you. As opposed to saying, I set this big crazy goal and look at the progress I made to achieve it, and been
Yeah.
thinking, oh my God, I did so much better than where I was yesterday. I did so much better than where I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. And looking at that, because every little bit of progress is a step towards success. It is that you being better than the person you were yesterday. And that can be in any way. It can be, like you said, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, health, you name it.
Yeah.
And so I love that you shared that. And Elizabeth, within the book, within the guidebook, there are 10 factors of success within the
Yes.
book. So
Yeah.
can you tell us two? Because I'm not
Yeah,
going to
I
ask you
can.
to
I'm
name all
actually,
10 of them.
and we'd be here all day if we did 10 of them, but I'm actually going to lay up on what you just said, because I love what you just said. In the back of the Success Guidebook, in the back of this one, is a whole chapter called Celebrate.
Mm,
And what I mean by that, isn't go out to the bars and party hardy and do all that stuff. Go for it if that's what you need to do. But in my mind, what I'm thinking is, okay, here's a toast to you in this moment, and celebrate the small wins, kind of like what you just said, and success stack.
mhm.
So I love it. So like when people have a little like notebook like this, and it's filled with your little happy wins for the day, yes, exactly. Yeah, like, was on podcast this morning talking about my books. Check, awesome. Not in the United States even. Very, very cool. How neat is that? So we grow in these moments, but then we sit back and we go, well, I wasn't on Good Morning America this morning. So no, that kind of thing. And we do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's exactly that gap that you're talking about, where it's like, I've made monumental progress. We're prone to this as authors, podcast hosts, mothers, whatever it is.
Mhm.
We feel less than, and I have a sign that hangs in front of me. It says, remember your value. I'll see if I can, probably can't take that down. I probably can, maybe, hang on. Remember, I don't know if you can see that, but remember your value. It hangs right in front of me all the time to remember, because, it's a climb, and, it's a climb wherever it is you're going to go with what your dreams and hopes and goals are and things like that.
Mhm.
And it's not always this way, there's setbacks, there's failures, there's people around you telling you, are you kidding me? What do you think you're doing hosting a podcast and writing books? Ooh, there's all sorts of things. So my second favorite chapter in this book is the Believe in Yourself chapter. So just Believe is the name of it. And it talks all about that, where you're encountering people or even your own self in moments where you are just like, what am I doing? And who takes over the chapter 2 in the book is my own son, Cam Guarino, and Coach Edwin Thompson of Georgetown University baseball. He's the head coach of the baseball team there at Georgetown University, which Cam played for him ultimately, and then played professionally over in Germany overseas this past year.
Oh.
But the ride to get there was like this. It was bumpy. It was COVID was in the way. It was injury. It was naysayers around Cam. It was all sorts of things. And Coach Edwin Thompson, we call him Coach T, he arrived at Georgetown and the program was in a slump. And so it was like, where are we going to go with this? Well, he led Team 153, which is the 153rd baseball team in Georgetown history, to heights unheard of. They went to the championships in Ohio. They did all sorts of crazy cool things, set records. Jake Bloss was drafted. Cam's overseas. So many things with this team. But it all centered around believing in yourself. And so it's really interesting to hear how in moments each of them have encountered people or situations or whatever, where they wouldn't be where they are today if they hadn't, what I call, have earplugs and bubble wrap.
Hmm.
And it's earplugs in they didn't maybe literally have this, but I always love to equip people with earplugs and bubble wrap. Earplugs for the naysayers and bubble wrap because it's so bumpy out there. You're going to encounter failure and setbacks and so forth, and you need to be resilient and keep come right back here all day long to what is in your heart, your truths, and your energy for what you want. So, for example, if, Cam, since he was like 6 months old, was throwing baseballs and things with his left hand, we're like, oh no, don't throw that. Here's a baseball, kind of thing. And along the way, people have said, you're too this, you're too that, you're too slow, you're too short, you're too whatever it is. And he has kept focus on what he wants to do. So
That's
been
pretty cool. And I
yeah.
think, it reminds me when you use sports analogies, it reminds me of Noah Wiles in the Olympics. He just
Yep.
believed he was going to win it. I mean, he believed he won the 100-meter sprint. I used to be a sprinter when I was younger and could run. That was my thing. I was a sprinter. And I love to watch the 100-meter sprint. And I love to watch all of the athletics, to be fair, but the 100-meter sprint and the relays. But he came onto that track and he was like, he bounded halfway up the track as though he'd already won the race. And he was feeling, he had the V for victory going on before he even ran the race. And he did, and he won. But I watched the documentary about the sprinters on Netflix. It was really quite interesting. And he just had this innate self-belief that he was going to be the person who wore that 100-meter gold medal and the 200 or 400 as well. He was like, I don't know which one, but I think he did win the other one as well. And I really think that's incredible. And it's funny, actually, just recently I was at a networking event and I sat down with a lady, and she's slightly autistic, fabulous lady. But because she's slightly autistic, she feels a little bit uncomfortable in networking situations. So as an icebreaker, she has these cute little notebooks that she hands out to people, and she just turns them over. They're all in different colors, and she invited me to pick one. So I chose one, and what was written on the front of it is there's all these little quotes, and it was a lovely Henry Ford quote, which was, if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. And it comes back to just believe, doesn't it? And I mean, the power of belief.
It does, and there's a little bit of, help involved too. I think I talk a lot about surrounding yourself with the right people. Because, if you've got this incredible belief in yourself, but everybody around you is saying, no, 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 guess what? It's going to be tricky. So you've got to really find and navigate the people that believe in you as well, that support your dreams, goals, and hopes. So I always say it's great to have goals, and, put the analytic down. I want to be a professional baseball player, whatever it is. And you can get even more specific than that and so forth. But when you write that goal down, it's so important to share it because then people can show up for you. That's the part that people forget. Go with your goals and chat about them all day long, and you will find who is meant for you. Because you can hear it in your own ears. I call it in the Change Guidebook, I give everybody a personal filtration system. Everybody, when you have a goal or a dream or something, everybody loves to chime in with what they think you should do all day long. I think do. And some of it is, I don't think you should do that. Why you? I'm used to you. You can't do that. There's the naysayers involved. And so it's very important just to structure your world with those people who do believe in you and find them and so forth, so that they're near, they're close in your circle of people to support you. In Cam's case, for example, the second game in at Georgetown against Navy, he took a line drive that was meant for his face at 108 miles an hour, and he put his pitching hand up. He fractured his hand. He thought he was done playing baseball. He had surgery. He's got a pin in his hand and so forth. And I've never seen anybody fight so hard to come back and pitch. And he helped pitch the last 10 games of the season. Not the star pitcher, that was Jake Bloss who got drafted, but he helped. And he helped mentally and mindset wise, and anything that he could do, knowing his role on that team, including the Mandalorian hat, helmet, which he put on people when they hit home runs and things like that. So that was it. That Team 153 is a very interesting team. They're all written about in the book. And also, I don't know if you've ever heard about them, but the Savannah Bananas are in here as well.
Have you heard of Elizabeth? No.
You don't. So the Savannah Bananas are a team in the United States that are making headway here. They're selling out MLB stadiums at this point.
Are they from
They
Georgia?
they are from Georgia. They're from
Okay.
Savannah, Georgia. They are all yellow. They're the Savannah Bananas, and they
Mhm.
do it's almost like a baseball circus of sorts. They
Mhm.
dance and sing and catch fly balls in the outfield with backflips and do all these amazing things. But they were started by Jesse and Emily Cole, who again, no no support. They were they were overdrawn in their bank account. They were, living on an air mattress, eating ramen noodles and, graham crackers type situation. But they believed in what they were doing. They had a contest to name the team, the baseball team, and so the Savannah Bananas won. And they got so much crap for that too. Just, an enormous amount of naysayers around them. Well, now look at them. They are, pretty much worldwide. They're selling out MLB stadiums. And tonight so they're in the book. They've done all sorts of things to help me with the book. I've had Jesse Cole on my radio show. My magazine right now has Andy Archer on the cover, all these things with the Savannah Bananas. But, talk about believing in yourself. And when you can see something and nobody else can see it, but it's that moment where you can see something for yourself, and then people start to see it for you as well.
Mm.
If you can't see it for yourself, nobody else is ever going to see it either. That's the
Yeah,
part about believing in yourself that people miss.
I know. And as an entrepreneur, I've experienced this. In December 2022, I was flat broke. I had hardly any money left in my bank account. My husband, it was December. My husband was saying, "Hey, Dee, you going to be able to contribute to the mortgage this month? What about Christmas?" And I'm like, I barely
Yeah.
have enough money to pay my tax bill. But I just had this fundamental belief that things were going to work out. I really had I can't explain it. I don't even feel like I can describe it.
Yeah.
I just had this conviction that I was at a turning point. I was at this tipping point and that things were about to change. And I know I can help people. I really believed I could help people and that there were people out there who needed my help and support.
Yeah.
But I was just missing something and I couldn't figure out what I was missing to make that happen, for me to help them, and in turn for things to turn around for me.
Yeah.
And that was when I went out and I surrounded myself with some people. I used the last bit of money that I had, which not wise. And I have talked about this in a previous episode. Don't spend the last of your money if you can help it.
Yeah.
But I did, and that was exactly what I did. And I invested in two different coaches for two different reasons to help me in two different ways. But that was actually the turning point for me in my business.
Good for
But
you.
I believed, and within a few short months, I mean, I was making over 100 grand, and that
Mhm.
was like the relief from a financial perspective at home, but also the incredible results that those clients were able to get. Like, that's what lights me up, not the monetary value that I make.
Right.
It's like having the bit of security is great, that's success, but also actually helping people achieve what their vision of success looks like is
Yeah.
that's success
That's
to
true.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the just believe. Tell us another one. Tell us another one, Elizabeth, please.
Oh goodness. Let me look. Let me see. I want to look and see what I turn to actually. Um, I get torn between asking for help and networking. Which one
We'll
do you
go with
want?
asking for help because
Asking
I
for
think
help.
that's a lot of entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
especially female entrepreneurs. And sorry, because this is for guys as well who
Yeah.
are listening. But you've got to ask the ladies in your lives if they ever need help, because women tend to be the ones who are looking after the kids, looking after the parents, looking after you.
Yeah.
And maybe if they're entrepreneurs, they're looking after a business as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So in both of my books, I write about asking for help.
Mhm.
I'm a big asker of help. I need to ask for help a lot. I like to surround myself with people who might know the flight path and so forth. So I think two things here. When you ask for help, it doesn't mean that you are less than. It doesn't mean you suck. It doesn't mean you aren't doing what you need to do. It means that you need to reach beyond your knowledge and your maybe abilities and take some different actions to pave the way for your success. So I think it's really important to find people who might know the flight path and ask them for help. The second part of that though is I'm sure there are people listening here who are mentors.
Mhm.
So it's important to pay attention when people are asking you for help, that you don't just disregard them or get jealous of them or think that they're going to compete with you or take over what you do and so forth, like people tend to do. So be aware whether you're asking or mentoring, people in this world need help. So everything I do on the Best Ever You network on besteveryou.com is basically designed to help people leave the best footprint that they can leave. So I believe that when we encounter people, randomly or otherwise, that it's important to meet each person that graces your, that you grace or they grace, one of the two, with grace, with elegance, with a sense of collaboration, with benevolence, with, all of those words that my dad said are really important when people are in your path, no matter what, when, or how. So even at the grocery store, it's important to treat people with kindness. You have absolutely no idea what's rattling around in the background of their lives. You have no idea in that moment when you're really rude to somebody at the grocery store, or you've shoved your way in front of them, or you're in a hurry, or whatever it is. And same for the people on the receiving end of the hurry. You have no idea why they're in a rush or what's going on with them. So super important both ways. That awareness when we're around other people is so important. That's, I think, the foundation of asking and networking right there. Like I would never meet somebody and right off the bat say, "Hi, I'm Elizabeth. Can you buy my books, and can you do this for me and that for me, and can you help me, and can you do can you do list of all the things I need you to do for me?" But rather, when you meet somebody, it's so much better to say, "What can I do for you?" and just let it be. Don't even ask anybody for what you need from them, even if they're like, even if it's Jack Canfield and you get to meet Jack Canfield and it's your shot to meet Jack Canfield, close your mouth and don't ask him for anything. Ask, what can I do for you, Jack? He'll say, "Yeah, sure, promote my new course," or whatever. It'll come around. Be patient. That kind of thing. We're so in a rush for what we need versus stepping back and pausing for what all of us need. So I always say, percolate I, percolate me, but percolate us and we, and please present yourself with a sense of comprehensive everything. It's we and us, not I and me. And that's in every nanosecond of your life as well. Very me, and we need to be we, and us. And that goes back. It took me a while to learn that. Not full into my 50s, but it took me a little bit to learn that. Especially as you're on a climb toward success and things like that, you get a little bit like me, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not what this is about. I get it. But I had a moment with my dad. My dad had just passed away. And I was back in, I was flying back and forth between Maine and Minnesota. And I was back in Maine. Our son had just gotten inducted into the National Honor Society. I went up to the grocery store, and I don't know what happened, but I was standing over the pears and I was bawling my eyes out. I mean, just absolutely in total tears, crying. And they were beautiful pears. There's nothing wrong with the pears. It was just me in that moment going, oh my God. And this lady, this is before COVID. This is 2018. I'm 5'3" on a big hair day. She was tinier than I am. And she was older, and she said, "Oh, can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, you can." And she said to me, "Which one of your parents just passed away?" I'm like, "How do you know that? How do you know that? Kind of, how do you know that?" And she said, "Oh, the look and everything about you is unmistakable." And I told her it was my dad. Anyway, she gave me this hug, and I kind of stopped crying and so forth. Anyway, it was like after that moment, she like disappeared. I couldn't find her in the store again. I've gone up, I've looked for her. I have no idea who that human being was. I don't live in a very big town. On and on and on. I don't know if that was an angel moment or what, but it just made me realize you have no idea what's going on with people at all, really. And to just be kind to people. And that right there is success. When you help other people, or when you encounter other people. So I'm talking about a way different type of success than money in your bank account and dollars and what you drive and what you wear and what you look like and how your hair is cut and how tall you are and how thin you are and all these material things. I'm talking about footprints.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. And I love that story. What a lady that was to come up and do that, right?
Yeah. Really neat.
Yeah, oh my God, that's incredible. And I have to say as well, from a different perspective, like I talk about in business from a business perspective, and again, people who've listened to all of the episodes, and there's nearly 100. If you've listened, you need to go back and listen to all the episodes. They're very great and great guests, just like Elizabeth. But one of the things that I've learned, and I think I don't know, I think it's always been in this way. It been ingrained in me as a
Yeah.
young kid. My parents both grew up in grocery stores. Their families both owned
Retail.
grocery stores
Yeah.
separately. And I'm talking in the 1910, 1920, that kind of era.
Yep.
And my dad was born in 1936 and my mom was born in 1941. They're
Awesome.
really old school. Now they've both since passed away,
Yeah.
but they were brought up in that environment where they had that kind of retail thing. They were really hospitable type people.
Yeah.
And then they went on and they worked in client facing roles and really hospitable. And one of the things that I think is it is a little bit about being hospitable. And I know that sounds like a crazy word to use here, but it's the word that really just jumps out at me right now. And it's being hospitable is not, it is kind. It's absolutely kind. It's being open. It's
Yeah.
being supportive. It's almost like a form of servant leadership to a degree, is how I see it. And in business, where I'm going with this, and I am getting to a point, I promise you, but where I'm going with this is that what I've found and what I've really experienced in my business is something where I'm like, give away the family farm. I always say this, give them everything. Don't ask for anything in return. The things that you teach in your programs, the things that clients can do, create Excel sheet versions, whatever it might be, so that they can go and do it themselves. It's no different than, and this is the example I always use. I've blow dried my hair today. Now I've had headphones on because I've been in the podcast studio recording and stuff, and my hair is a bit messy. But generally, I blow dry my hair every day. I still go to the expert when I need help with that.
Right.
I still go to the salon and get my hair done if I'm going somewhere because they do it that bit better. So even though I have my own hair dryer and I can wash my hair perfectly myself, and the person in the salon will show me how to wash and blow dry it better if I ask them to, I'm still going to go to them because I want it to be that bit better. So what I'm getting at here is the more value that you put out into the world, the more you give, give, and give. When people need help and the more you help and support them, you get it back in spades. That reciprocity that comes back is unbelievable. And
Yeah.
this comes back to your point about awareness and networking. And I've literally experienced that so often. I've had where I put out so much value, and that's always my goal with the
Yeah.
podcast. That's my goal with social media, is to share value. People refer people to me, and the people referring them are people I've never even met, but it's because I share that value that it comes back.
Yeah.
So, by being generous, by being hospitable, by being supportive and knowing the people you're supportive as an entrepreneur, as a person,
Yeah.
it comes back.
Yeah. And don't, here's the thing about that. Don't expect it to. I
No,
think that's
no,
an
you're
underlying thing
right.
too. It's not a transaction with
No,
everyone. Some people just need to take from you, and that's okay. And you might need to take from them at moments and things like that. So don't score keep either.
no, it's
And
not a
so that
transaction.
is a
Yeah.
lot of what people do though. They score keep. Like, well, I gave all that to you for free. You mean you're not going to buy my, $50,000 coaching package, or whatever it is. And so you can't expect that from people. And I think that's really important to understand so that you don't feel resentful and
Mhm.
that you don't feel like you don't have worth.
Yes.
I have gone through periods of time where I've given away everything too, and it's left me depleted, where I've been like, okay, I'm giving and giving and giving and giving, and I've had to sometimes turn off that faucet and
Mhm.
say, okay, I need to put a dollar amount with that.
Mhm.
Okay, I can't do this coaching class for free. It
Mhm.
really is valued at $5,000. It's not free. And so knowing your worth. And so I think it's important as entrepreneurs that maybe we have different layers of things too. If you look at anything that I do, some things are free, some things aren't. Some things are less costly, some things are more costly. Some things are, it's, they're all over the place to kind of meet people where they need to be met. But in general, you can still call. And if you need an hour of time or something like that, I think that's important to make yourself available to people. Because I have reached out to people like Jack Canfield before and been like, I'm really hoping, this is a shot in the dark, and I really hope that you will endorse my books. Sure, Elizabeth, that's great. Random kind of thing. I have done big asks before where I don't know somebody that well, but I really like idolize them or something and really want their help with that. And then I've had to back up and go, okay, now I need to get, now we did that and you said, yes, thank you, but I really want to get to know you for real. And things like that. So it's just, I think it's really important. And I love the part that you threw in some retail. I heard retail. I think everybody should do a year or two of retail.
Yes.
People are like, oh, you have to put on a name tag and make less than. I'm like, listen, kiddo. So all of our kids have worked retail. They have had the interactions with the random human beings. They've worked at Subway. They've worked at the grocery store. Our one son worked at McDonald's for 5 years. He has one master's degree in pharmacology now. So they've all worked retail in one way or another, from bringing in the carts and in the parking lot to checking out people at they've all worked grocery store or food. And I think that's so important because you get customer service skills and people skills that you just don't get otherwise from dealing randomly with people.
You don't learn them at all, and that's so funny that you brought that up. Actually, I wasn't even thinking in that way, but it's funny because I had in Million Eyes, my mastermind this week. We were talking about people management. One of the guys in the hot seat, we were talking about people management, and he was talking about recruitment and soft skills, and I'm like, do you check if they have any retail experience on their CVs? Because that's a good indicator as to whether they'll have those soft skills or not, right?
Yeah, you deal, in a grocery store setting, you deal with everything from homelessness and people begging for food on up. You deal with people who are in the groceries, in the line, they're in the checkout and their credit card doesn't go through. There's a lot of humanity in the checkout line. There's a lot of humanity whenever there's food involved. There's just grocery store experience and food experience is very interesting.
100% agree.
Yeah. And I can't remember, you said something else and I was like, that's a really good point too, but I can't remember what you said, but yeah. Yeah, just it's an interesting thing with retail experience and humanity and all of it. But those are foundations, those are building blocks for people so that they have the people skills to deal with people in larger settings and so forth. I think they're really important for people.
I agree 100%. Elizabeth, tell me before we wrap up, what is one thing that you really want people to know about the books, about you, before we finish up?
Well, so I love gratitude. I have the Change Guidebook and the Success Guidebook. You can maybe guess maybe another book that's coming, maybe the Gratitude Guidebook or the People Guidebook. I'm not real sure which one, but there's more coming. I love gratitude. And what I want to leave everybody with is the gratitude flip if I can. It's in my books, and there's a YouTube video with tens of thousands of views at this point, and on Instagram, but it's about gratitude and rooting in gratitude. Whatever you got to do to put a gratitude practice in place, please do it. If it's writing material things for a while, every day, every night, write down what you're grateful for, write down what happened in your day, write down the nuances of what you're grateful for. If something happened that was less than, counter it with gratitude and implement the gratitude flip. And the gratitude flip is this: instead of saying, oh, I have to go do that, or I have to, woe is me, I have to, flip that around to, I get to. Put that as part of your speech. I get to make dinner tonight. I get to clean my house. I get to take the dog for a walk. I get to go pick up the kids. I get to pick up this mess on the floor. Change your wording to I get to. And also do a journal of gratitude. Even if you're having the worst day ever, Go find things to be grateful for. And I really learned that through my own experiences with nearly dying through food allergies. I have 4 life-threatening food allergies on board. And I've been resuscitated a couple times, once while 6 months pregnant with our son, Cam, the baseball player,
Oh
who's
my
now
gosh.
so yeah, very serious food allergies and health issues that I deal with every day. And so it's very important to implement that gratitude, implement that you're not entitled to time and that your moments matter. And it'll all morph into gratitude and feeling successful and feeling worthy and knowing how to change and, knowing how to deal with things as they come up, almost on autopilot. You don't have to stop and think when you have the right tools in your toolbox that you've learned and so forth. It becomes part of you, kind of like a way of being.
Mm.
Hope that
Well,
helps.
Elizabeth, I'm very grateful that you came and joined us on the show today. And you'll have to share that link with me for YouTube, and I'll absolutely add it to the show notes so people can go and check it out and watch the video. And what else is coming up for you in the coming weeks and months aside from that gratitude guidebook, folks? You're going to have to check that one out as well. What else is coming
Yeah,
up for you?
that's not even written totally yet, but I'm working on it. Just besteveryou.com is where we kind of live and hang out, and in social media. I do train people to become life coaches. I do offer one-on-one coaching with people if they have a moment where they need me and so forth. But most of the time I spend either writing, promoting the book, finding readers, we're navigating that still, or training people to become life coaches is a big part of what I do. But I do love to hang out in social media. I do love a good dog video coming out of our house and being posted on social media. I goof around and find the humor in things. But yeah, that's what's around the corner. Just, I'm a mom of 4 sons. They're 23, 25, 27, and 29 now. My husband and I have been married forever. And we're just doing more of that and navigating our lives as they change, as we get older and the kids change and do things. And so we're putting it out there in social media a little bit more.
Love it. Love it. And so, folks, go and give Elizabeth a follow and check her out and connect with her over there. And Elizabeth, thank you so much. Genuinely, it's been such a lovely conversation and really, really great to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really great to meet you too.
Wow, I just feel so incredible after having that conversation with Elizabeth. I'm feeling really fired up. I'm ready to take on the world. Are you with me? Are you the same? Because to remember what you said, it's like success isn't about managing all those little tick boxes things. It's not about the tiny little numbers in somebody else's checklist. It's about you figuring out what really actually matters to you and building a life that reflects that. And yeah, that comparison, if you're one of those people who's constantly comparing themselves to everybody else, it's time to stop. Now is the time to stop that. So it's about your unique journey and remembering that every single small step that you take forward is a victory worth celebrating. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to have that unwavering belief, that fundamental belief that you can achieve whatever it is that you're setting out to. So here's your high impact action for today. Go and grab your pen, grab a journal, and just spend 5 minutes reflecting on what success truly means to you. And if you want to take a leaf out of Elizabeth's book, maybe just look at what you're grateful for. And there's no judgment, there's no limitations, there's just pure, unadulterated you. And speaking of you, be sure to head over to besteveryou.com and explore Elizabeth's incredible resources. She's got books, a podcast, and a whole community dedicated to helping you become the best ever version of yourself. Folks, if this episode resonated with you at all, please share it with your entrepreneurial friends, spread the love, grow our community, and let's all rise together. And remember to subscribe or follow the show wherever you listen. Give us a rating or a review. It really does help. It helps us to spread the word and get other people out there to spot the Master Your Business podcast, which is why we show up, right? And that's success for us. We're still here. I thought it was episode 100 when we recorded, or close to it. It's episode 102. So until next time, folks, keep tuning in and keep mastering your business.